Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is relentless, and the world around you is chaos. Now, picture two people in that storm. One is panicking, overwhelmed, paralyzed by fear. The other stands firm, adjusting their footing, using the wind to their advantage, moving forward step by step. Same storm, two completely different reactions. The difference isn't strength, it's resilience. Emotional resilience isn't about avoiding challenges or pretending we don't feel stress. It's about learning how to face adversity, process emotions, and come out stronger on the other side. The good news? It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be mastered. When we think of resilience, we often picture an unshakable force, someone who stands tall no matter what, who refuses to bend, who faces adversity head-on with sheer willpower. We admire the ones who seem invincible, who appear untouched by hardship, who seem to power through every challenge as if nothing could possibly break them. But that's not resilience. True resilience isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's not about having the thickest armor or the highest tolerance for pain. In fact, those who try to meet every challenge with brute force, who refuse to bend, who insist on pushing through without adapting, those are the ones most at risk of breaking. Think about nature. The trees that stand rigid and unyielding in a storm are the first to snap under pressure. But the trees that bend, that move with the wind, that shift and sway instead of resisting, those are the ones that survive. They don't break because they adapt. They don't fight the storm, they work with it. Resilience works the same way. The most resilient individuals aren't those who try to overpower adversity. They are the ones who adjust, who pivot, who learn and evolve when faced with uncertainty. It's not about how much hardship you can endure. It's about how well you can respond to it. Take a moment to think about people who have overcome significant obstacles. The entrepreneurs who failed, adjusted, and found success in a different way. The athletes who suffered injuries that should have ended their careers, only to reinvent themselves and come back stronger. The leaders who faced rejection but took every setback as an opportunity to refine their approach. What do they all have in common? They weren't the ones who simply held on through adversity. They were the ones who adapted to it. Resilience is about understanding that change is inevitable. Challenges are inevitable. Setbacks are inevitable. No matter how strong you think you are, life will throw you situations that you cannot simply push through with sheer willpower. And when that happens, your ability to adapt, to rethink, to reassess, to find a new way forward is what will determine whether you rise or whether you break. Because resilience is not about resisting the storm. It's about learning how to move with it. From a young age, we are taught to control, suppress, or even ignore our emotions. Don't cry. Be strong. Keep your emotions in check. We grow up believing that emotions, especially the difficult ones, are signs of weakness, distractions that get in the way of logic, productivity, and success. So we try to bury them. We push aside fear, frustration, sadness, and doubt, thinking that if we just ignore them long enough, they will disappear. But emotions don't vanish. They linger. They manifest in different ways. Stress, burnout, resentment, anxiety. When we suppress what we feel, we don't eliminate the emotion, we only disconnect ourselves from it. And in doing so, we miss out on one of the most powerful tools we have, the ability to listen, understand, and learn from what our emotions are trying to tell us. Because emotions are not the enemy, they are not roadblocks in our way, they are signals. They exist for a reason. Fear, for example, isn't just an unpleasant feeling, it's a warning system. It's our brain's way of telling us to pay attention, to be cautious, to prepare. But when we label fear as an obstacle, when we treat it as something to be ignored, we lose the opportunity to ask the most important question. Why am I feeling this? Is it because we are stepping outside of our comfort zone? Is it because we are afraid of failing? Is it because something genuinely dangerous is ahead? Fear isn't meant to paralyze us, it's meant to inform us, but only if we listen. Frustration is another misunderstood emotion. Most of us experience frustration and immediately try to push past it, telling ourselves to just deal with it or get over it. But frustration is often a sign that something isn't working, that we need to change our approach. It's a signal that something in our current strategy isn't aligned with our goals. Ignoring frustration doesn't make the problem disappear. It only ensures that we will repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Even sadness, which is often seen as an emotion to be avoided at all costs, serves a purpose. Sadness is a reflection of value. We feel sad when we lose something that mattered to us, when we experience change, when we let go of something significant. And while we might try to numb that sadness with distractions, what if instead we allowed ourselves to feel it? What if we asked, what does this sadness tell me about what I care about? Emotions are not weaknesses. They are not disruptions. They are internal messages guiding us, directing us, helping us navigate the complexities of life, but only if we stop fighting them long enough to listen. We often think of resilience as an individual trait, something we build within ourselves, something that comes from sheer determination and personal grit. The idea of the self-made individual is deeply ingrained in our culture. The person who pulls themselves up through sheer willpower, who never asks for help, who fights their battles alone. Strength, we are told, comes from independence. But in reality, the strongest people aren't the ones who stand alone. They are the ones who are deeply connected to others. Resilience isn't built in isolation. It is forged through relationships, through trust, through shared experiences, through the ability to rely on and be relied upon by others. No one can carry the weight of the world alone, and those who try often find themselves exhausted, overwhelmed, and on the verge of breaking. Strength isn't about never needing help. It's about knowing when to seek it. Think about the toughest times in your life, the moments of doubt, failure, or fear. Were you truly alone? Or was there someone, a friend, a mentor, a family member, a colleague, who helped you navigate through it? Even if they didn't solve the problem for you, their presence, their words, or simply their belief in you made the burden feel lighter. That's the power of connection. Trust is the foundation of resilience. When we trust others, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to share our fears, our struggles, our uncertainties. And in that vulnerability, we gain strength. Because when we know we are not alone, when we know that someone is in our corner, we find the courage to keep going. In leadership, this principle is even more evident. The best leaders are not the ones who rule with authority and expect people to follow blindly. The best leaders are the ones who create an environment of trust, where people feel safe to speak up, to take risks, to fail without fear of judgment. When trust exists, teams become stronger, more innovative, more willing to push through adversity. When it doesn't, people retreat, they hesitate, they operate from a place of fear rather than courage. Connection isn't just about having people around you, it's about the depth of those relationships. 1,000 surface-level interactions will never be as powerful as one deep, meaningful bond. The difference between feeling supported and feeling isolated isn't the number of people in your life, it's the quality of the trust you share with them. We see this in the most challenging environments: soldiers in combat, athletes in high-pressure moments, first responders facing life or math situations. They don't rely solely on their own strength. They rely on the trust and connection they have with the people around them. They know that no matter how tough the situation gets, they are not alone. And that knowledge gives them the ability to keep going. Two people can face the exact same situation. One sees a crisis, the other sees an opportunity. One feels defeated, the other feels challenged. One hesitates, the other takes action. What's the difference? It's not intelligence, it's not skill, it's not luck. It's perspective. Perspective is one of the most powerful tools we have, yet it's often the least talked about when it comes to resilience. We assume that circumstances define our experience, but the truth is, our interpretation of those circumstances is what truly shapes our reality. The way we see the world determines how we move through it. Consider failure. One person sees failure as proof that they aren't good enough, that they should quit, that they'll never succeed. Another person sees the same failure as feedback, an opportunity to learn, adjust, and improve. The situation is identical. The outcome is entirely different. Think about stress. Most of us experience stress and immediately associate it with something negative. We say, I'm so stressed, with frustration, exhaustion, or even a sense of defeat. But stress, biologically, is nothing more than a response designed to prepare us for action. It increases focus, heightens awareness, and sharpens our ability to perform. If we shift our perspective and see stress as something that helps us rather than something that hurts us, we suddenly gain power over it instead of being controlled by it. Reframing is a skill that resilient people master. It's the ability to look at a challenge and shift the lens through which they view it. Instead of seeing an obstacle as a roadblock, they see it as a test of creativity. Instead of seeing rejection as a personal failure, they see it as redirection towards something better. Instead of seeing change as a loss of control, they see it as a chance to grow into something new. History is full of examples of people who have used the power of perspective to change their circumstances. Inventors who saw problems as inspiration rather than defeat. Athletes who use setbacks as fuel rather than discouragement. Entrepreneurs who viewed adversity as a lesson rather than a reason to quit. The most successful people are not the ones who avoid challenges, but the ones who look at those challenges and choose to see them differently. Perspective is also what separates those who feel stuck from those who feel empowered. The same job, the same routine, the same environment. Some people feel trapped by it while others see it as a stepping stone. Some people see pressure as an unbearable weight, while others see it as a necessary force that forges strength. Some people see uncertainty as a threat, while others see it as an open door to possibility. It's not about pretending that hardship doesn't exist. It's not about ignoring pain, difficulty, or struggle. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we interpret and respond to what happens to us. And that choice determines everything. In the face of adversity, uncertainty, and chaos, there is one thing that keeps people grounded, focused, and resilient: purpose. It is the invisible force that keeps us moving forward when everything around us feels unstable. It is the reason some people push through obstacles while others give up. It is the difference between being lost and being driven. When people lack a clear sense of purpose, they become more susceptible to doubt, fear, and external pressures. Every setback feels personal. Every failure feels final. Every challenge feels like a reason to stop. Without purpose, life becomes a series of disconnected events, and struggles feel pointless. But when people have a deep, undeniable understanding of why they do what they do, everything shifts. Obstacles become necessary lessons. Failures become stepping stones. Hardships become fuel. Purpose acts as an anchor. No matter how strong the currents of life get, no matter how unpredictable the storms may be, those who are anchored in a clear purpose don't get swept away. They may bend, they may struggle, they may get knocked down, but they don't drift aimlessly. They always find their way back. Think about the people who inspire us the most, the leaders, the visionaries, the change makers. They don't just wake up and react to the world around them. They operate from something deeper, something unshakable. Their purpose gives them resilience not because they don't experience hardship, but because they know their hardships serve a bigger mission. They understand that every challenge, every setback, every difficult moment is part of something greater. Athletes who wake up at 4 a.m. to train every day aren't just motivated by the idea of winning, they have a deep purpose that drives them. Entrepreneurs who push through failure after failure don't keep going because of money alone. They are anchored by a purpose that is bigger than financial success. Leaders who continue to fight for change despite resistance aren't just doing it for recognition. They are fueled by a mission they refuse to abandon. When people lose sight of their purpose, they become reactive. They start making decisions based on what's easy instead of what's meaningful. They chase external validation instead of internal fulfillment. They let failure define them instead of refine them. But when purpose is clear, resilience becomes second nature. Challenges aren't seen as reasons to quit, but as necessary tests that strengthen resolve. Purpose also provides clarity in moments of uncertainty. When things don't go as planned, when the future feels unclear, when external pressures create doubt, a strong purpose acts as a compass. It answers the question, why should I keep going? It reminds us of what truly matters, cutting through the noise of distraction, fear, and hesitation. The most powerful thing about purpose is that it's not dependent on circumstances. It doesn't change based on external success or failure. It remains steady whether things are going well or falling apart. It is a force that exists within, giving people the ability to endure, to persist, and to rise, no matter what challenges come their way. Resilience is not about being the toughest, the strongest, or the most unyielding. It is about adaptability, the ability to move with challenges instead of resisting them. It is about recognizing that emotions are not obstacles but signals, guiding us toward deeper understanding and better decision-making. It is about trust and connection, knowing that true strength is not built in isolation, but in the relationships that support and uplift us. It is about perspective, the ability to reframe challenges, to see opportunities where others see defeat, and above all, it is about purpose. Purpose is what anchors us when everything else feels uncertain. It is the driving force that turns setbacks into stepping stones, failure into learning, and struggle into growth. Without it, we drift. With it, we stand firm. In the end, resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It is about navigating through it with clarity, courage, and conviction. It is about embracing change rather than fearing it, listening to emotions rather than suppressing them, leaning on others rather than isolating ourselves, shifting our perspective rather than feeling trapped by circumstances, and holding on to purpose rather than being swayed by momentary struggles. The world will challenge us, life will test us, but when we build resilience from within, when we anchor ourselves in adaptability, emotional awareness, trust, perspective, and purpose, we don't just survive adversity, we rise above it. And in doing so, we become unshaken in any situation.